Shalom. All praises to the Heavenly Father, Anguilla. Praise be to the earthly mother, the Pacha Mama, and all of her earthly angels, their Kadeshoe. Praise be to the Holy Spirit, the Kahe, in the name of his only begotten Son, Motsah the Lamb, unification to the nation. Okay, so this is a bit of a continuation of the video that I did a few days ago, because I wanted to look a little bit deeper into what we discussed about Lucy Thompson and her story and the native lore of the Wagas. Now, when I was first reading her story, immediately, and I didn't want to say this in the video because, I just didn't know, so I didn't really want to, make public accusations. But I did say, while I was reading in my head, this woman is probably married to a white dude. And lo and behold, I was not wrong at all. Now we're going to touch on a little bit of topics before we get into the subject of the video. Let's look into this term. If you guys don't know what a bedwench is, what this term is used for, typically a term applied to females of African descent. Okay, of course, right, African, but technically can be applied to all non-white women of all colors, yellow, black, brown, tan, who gives herself to white men of high status sexually in exchange for privileges, promotions, etc., at the expense of turning her back on the people in her community. The term originated from the female house slaves back during American slavery. Now, that I've read that, what do you think I think that Lucy Thompson is? I'm just going to be real, bro. I'm just going to be real. And not really, actually, I would actually consider her worse than that because at least those women are doing it because, they feel down and out or whatever. She comes from a high class of natives, of rich people, right? She comes from aristocrat. She comes from aristocrats, right? So she didn't need to do that because, she actually likes cavemen. So, I consider that worse. Now, there is this film that came out in 2004. It's called Dear White People. Now, this is the most cooniest movie that I've seen in a very long time. Because the premise, one, I cannot stand when so-called black people want to beg so-called white people to love them. I can't stand that. It really annoys the hell out of me when they do that. When they want to have this discussion with them, they want to sit down and they want to pout until the white man says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me give you a hug." And they're looking the other way and they make a little grin while the white man hugs them. Because that's really what they wanted the whole time. They were looking for that validation. And in this movie, you have this black girl who has this, this radio thing going on where she's constantly criticizing white people. And the ironic part is that she is dating a white man. Because all this is really about is wanting the validation of white people, wanting them to love them, wanting to be quote unquote equal with them. It's all foolishness. But the reason why I'm saying that is because it's a good segue into what we're going to speak on. So I did not know that this book was actually incredibly heavily criticized by many other, natives and things of the sort. So we're going to read some of these critiques. While scholars have wondered why Lucy Thompson appears to have Christianized Yurok mythology by revising various stories from the Bible, this chapter asserts that Thompson is not necessarily endorsing Christianity, but attempting to connect with white audiences in a language familiar to them. See, she's placating to them. That is why she wrote what she wrote. Now, what she wrote actually wasn't wrong at all. when I reread it again, I'm gonna reread it again. But what she said wasn't wrong. But of course, they have the appearances of the two groups incorrect. Through her discussions of Yurok religion, Thompson provides guidelines for a future generation of Yurok practitioners, and in doing so, demonstrates compelling reasons for the Yurok to return to indigenous spiritual practices rather than adopting Christianity. Finally, Thompson also illustrates how Yurok people experience their spiritual teachings differently from the landscape, emphasizing that Yurok land is the essence of their spiritual practice. So, pretty much this person is not necessarily harshly criticizing them. Like, they're not being like me and calling them something worse than a bedwench, but rather, they're taking the route of being a bit more lenient towards her and trying to show some understanding, and try to say that, well, she's just saying this because she has like a hidden agenda to get her people back on the right spiritual path. I don't see how that's any different from you saying, well, if it wasn't for Malenchi, then Cortez would have just killed all the Mexicans. What type of argument is that? Did she have to marry a white man? Did she have to procreate with them? No, she didn't. She didn't have to do that. She wanted to do that. She gladly did it. She loves her husband. She loves it. She loves him, right? According to her. So, it's not necessarily even about what she wrote about, the white race. It's also about who you marry, because your hidden agenda is not. You can't make the excuse to say that, oh, like, I'm actually on your side. I'm actually a double agent. You're one hell of a double agent. Like, what? That's not even a double agent at that point. But this was a great article. Now, let's read this again, because this is her story. When the Indians first made their appearance on the Klamath River, it was already inhabited by a white race of people known among us as the Wagas. These white people were found to inhabit the whole continent and were a highly moral and civilized race. They heartily welcomed the Indians to their country and taught us all of their arts and sciences. The Indians recognized the rights of these ancient people as the first possessors of the soil, and no difficulties ever arose between the two. Now, let's stop right there. Sorry if I'm making noise with the mic, but there's no good place to put it right now. I'm going to tell you right now, bro, we were the Wagas. We were the Wagas. We were the first peoples of this land. Aki's people, they intermixed with the people of She'iri or Shem. She'iri, we're going to go over this in a future video. Hopefully for the next couple of days, I don't know. But She'iri, he was named She'iri because it means remnants. Because he is a remnant of the righteous seed line of Seth. And the rest of the people, they got to go back to Eden. She'iri and his seed line were the last of the righteous people. So that lets me know that these Indians, these people, they're not necessarily they're not from She'iri, they're not from necessarily the chosen seed line. They are from Shem, as it seems, but they don't seem to be from the chosen seed line. But let's continue. The Indians recognized the rights of these ancient, and of course, there's been intermixing. Not only did we mix in with the children of Lud in ancient times, we also did it in modern times. So I'm just keeping that out there. This does not mean that she isn't, or she is, or you aren't, or you are. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not talking about anyone in particular. If you want to know who you are, you have to ask the Father. It's that simple. But continuing on. The Indians recognized the rights of these ancient people as the first possessors of the soil, and no difficulties ever arose between the two people. Their hospitality was exceedingly generous in the welfare of our people, and all prospered together in peace and happiness in their pursuit of human existence. After a time, there were intermarriages between the two races, but these were never promiscuous. For a vast period of time, the two races dwelt together in peace and honored homes. Wars and quarrels were unknown in this golden age of happiness. No depredations, were ever committed upon the property of their people. And as the white people ruled with beacon light of kindness, and our people still worship the hollow grounds where once they trod. Now we're gonna skip down. Let me see. After we had lived with these ancient people so long, they suddenly called their hosts together and mysteriously disappeared for a distant land. We know not where. We have no memory of their reason or cause why they abandoned their ancient homes where they had dwelt for untold centuries. Wars did not drive them forth, for we loved them more than brothers, and difficulties were unknown between the two people. And this is why I was getting confused, because I'm like, bro, if these are the white races, there is no way in hell that wars did not drive them forth, because every single other tribe says that they fought them. They just fought them. So the Wagas were not them. The Wagas were the people of Seth, were the people who were living with the first parents still in the encampment of Nod. But we're gonna talk about all that. We're gonna speak about all that in another video. But we're gonna talk about who were the Wagas. On leaving, they went toward the north from whence we came, and disappeared from our land beyond the northern seas. It was a sad farewell when they departed from this land, for our people mourned their loss, as no more have we found such friends as they, so true and loyal. So let's skip down. When the Wagas first arrived on this continent, they handed down the traditions to us that it was inhabited by a great race of why am I saying great? It's late. Was inhabited by a giant race of people when they first came. These giants were represented by the Wagas as being very swarthy in complexion. Wrong. Now I'm understanding what the hijack is. All they did was switch around the skin colors. The Wagas people, they were regular sized. The giants, they were big. But wait a minute. How are the big giants very dark, very swarthy, and the small Wagas are light skinned? We're gonna find out, bro. We're gonna find out. In fact, let's look that up real quick. Average height by country. Let's see. Let's see, who are the tallest people on earth? Who are the shortest people on earth? Let's see. Where is this? Europe, European place. Bosnia, Europe. 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 Lithuania, Europe. 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 Okay then. Okay then. What is the shortest? So Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, Argentina, Armenia, Australia, have Eurasia, and then you start getting into the lands over here. So the short black people, you know how high Australia is on this? It's incredibly high. And of course, this is Wikipedia, so the sample sizes are very, very crappy. But the point being is that all of the countries that have the tallest people, they're the Nordic countries. They're the white countries. Uh, I can't remember it, but we're gonna touch on that in another time. I'm just making the point that the white people are not short. They are not naturally short. They're actually very tall. Everyone knows that. Black people, okay, it depends what type of black people you're talking about. But as I've always told you guys from a very long time ago, almost 6, 7 months going, we originally were Pacific Island black people. Once we mixed in with the other nations, we became the sub-Saharan African archetype. You know the Indian, the Native American archetype. All these different archetypes came about through intermixings with other nations. But originally, we were the Proto-Australoid, Negrito, that sort of look. Um, so pretty much the Wagas, they they got enslaved by this giant race of people, and now we know what they look like. The Wagas were the short Pacific Island black people, which we're gonna go over in Oahspe, which are the Ihines, and the giant race of white people are the Drooks, the sea line of Cain, the giants. This is what happened on these lands. Now, I don't really need to read the rest of this. You guys can read it again if you want to, but I want to look at some of these critiques because they're very good, honestly. Fringe writers, including David Wilcock, who misunderstood this as referring to an indigenous white-skinned group of giants known as the Wagas, excuse me, in the Ascension Mysteries. And you don't have to do them like that. Fringe writers and Richard Dewhurst take this story at face value as evidence of giants and a lost white race. But there are clear indications that all is not as it seems. Thompson was heavily influenced by Christianity. She was what? Heavily influenced by Christianity. Her account of the creation bears striking evidence of contamination from Christian sources. It tells of an idyllic garden, the creation of sinless men, and then secondly women, of a snake that caused them to learn about sex, and of their subsequent shame at their nudity and creation of clothing from leaves. Oh, and the snake was also cursed to crawl on its belly. Yes, it's the account from Genesis. She even explicitly names this place as the mystic Eden of long ago. Now, of course, she's not getting it from her ancestors if she's telling a story like that because it's not how the story is. If she would have heard that from her ancestors, then they would have told her that story in a different way. And that's the point that this person's bringing up. Similarly, we see here a reworked version of the myth of the Nephilim from Genesis 6, combined with a political polemic about Anglo treatment of native people. The story purports to relate primeval history, but instead it sets up a contrast between the harmony natives had with the original race of white people and the enmity of the new invaders, effectively reversing the then common mound builder myth that the America's lost white race had been viciously murdered by savage Indians. So she was trying to mend that, but also still complain. You know what she's really trying to say? Why can't you white people be like the nice, good white people from back then? You're gonna complain and then complain about them. Say, "Oh, you guys treated my people so badly while sleeping with a white man." Like, what the hell? Like, this is just insane to me. It doesn't make any sense. We find similar polemics in other late accounts that purport to be ancient traditions. Nelson Lee's probably semi-fictional 3 Years Among the Comanches purports to have a Native American tell the story about a lost race of white savage giants destroyed by God for immorality, which similarly combines Genesis with an inverse of the mound builder myth. And exactly, see, a savage race of giants. These were not the Wagas, they were the giants. The Wagas were the black and brown people. And we're going to show you that technically the they would descend in a way from the Wagas, the natives, in a way, because they're sons of Yatzquad or Adam, so you know they can they can receive I'm blanking out. I'm sorry. It's really late, bro. I don't know why I waited so long to make this video. They can receive eternal life. So anyone who comes from quote unquote Adam can do that. Now I believe that the natives of the Northwest are a mixture of Lud and the children of Israel. It's about 50-50 when you get to the Northwest, and the percentages, it goes mainly towards the Israelites when you get towards near the equator, or even out in the East Coast. But when you go far east to the Northeast, then you start running into honestly the Edomite Indians. But I already made a video on that. Thompson's version is suspect because it bears clear traces of biblical contamination. But to this we must also add Thompson's own political and social views. Thompson was married to a white man, and she expressed criticism, however muted, of white Americans' treatment of Native Americans and the natural world. She was particularly incensed by whites over fishing, and she said as much in her book, and she sought to find ways to unite white and Native people for the common good. See? Why in the hell would you be trying to unite them? And she even said in her own book that they didn't really experience that much mistreatment until recently. You see, while in the 14 and 1500s, while the Central Americans and the Caribbeans were getting plundered, her people were living swell. So why should she care? You think I give a damn about trying to unite with these damn honkies? Are you crazy? You know how disrespectful that is to my ancestors? Let's hold hands. Let me get me a white girl. And let me make a book and try to placate and not hold them accountable for what they did. Gotta be effing kidding me, bro. What a disgrace. The connection between her beliefs and the story should be sufficiently plain. The references to the giant animals of the past seems to bear a close resemblance to the picture of earlier geographical epochs that had emerged in the early 20th century. As this person has cataloged ways that native oral traditions embraced and incorporated. Okay, I'm not reading all that. It is probably worth noting that the story that Thompson tells does not appear in anthropological and ethnographic collections of Yurok myths. So she made this stuff up, bro. She made it up. She made it up. Why? Because she loves white people. And she wants them to like her so goddamn badly. Such as this person, which was a uh, posthumous work of stories compiled from interactions with the Yurok dating back to the 1900s, in a more typical version of the story recorded in uh, Krober and other sources. The elder race was called uh, Woge, Thompson's Wagas, but were pygmies, not giants or knowledgeable about giants, and were not described as white. See, that's the real legends. This is a BS story that she made because she likes white dudes. Where Thompson has them ascend to heaven, traditional stories have them as semi immortals who transformed into birds, animals, or even landmark geographical formations to escape the coming of human beings. Interesting, uh, Grober did record one version of a man known as Informant B, in which the Woge were described as large men, though not exactly the Nephilim of Genesis. And when he's talking about large men, he just meant muscular men. What does that sound like? Right? Sounds like the copper colored people of the Americas, the people of Shea Ivory or Arphaxad, the people of Abraham, right? And again, they don't have one look to them. They look like all the people of the Americas today. But what did they originally look like? They originally seemed to look like the people of, you know, the people of the East Coast, the Indians on the East Coast, the more Negro looking ones, if you want to, say that. But anyway, let's move on. Now, this is why I knew I heard this name before, this word before, Whaga. I knew I heard it before. Of course, there's Naga, but I'm like, no, where did I hear Whaga? I've actually heard it before. I heard it in Oahspe, bro. This then was the ranked assign, Whaga, which is Pan, and Pan is Lemuria or Mu. Judd, Asia, Thori, America, Vuhu, Africa, and Diz, Europe. Now, then the making of the sign of Yehovah, or Yahweh's name, with his right hand, he came down to the foot of the throne, and taking the hand of Whaga, Lord of Whaga, he said, "Arise, my son, and go your way, and Yahweh will bless you." Now, oh man, I'm not gonna get into that, but then you can get into Chinese lore about the serpent kings. Like, it's crazy, man. I keep saying, I hope I remember to go through all this. And spread out the kingdom of Horrid to cover all the land of Whaga, the continent of Pan. Let me see. No, we're not going to read all that. We'll read that at another time. On this land I will raise up a people who shall be the fulfilling of that which the Ahines of Whaga profess. Ahines of Whaga, right? The sons of Seth in the land of Whaga. Let me see if I can find what I'm looking for. Above the continent of Whaga and parts of Judd and Vohu, the lower heavens was illuminated. No, it's not what I want to read. Yes, this is it. The Ahines has been destroyed in all the divisions of the earth except Whaga. See? The sons of Seth were eliminated. They were targeted and they were destroyed. They were going around killing them. And the Most High flooded the earth. And he also sunk Whaga. But he didn't touch these lands. Well, he didn't touch South America. He didn't touch Central America. The upper part of South America, I mean. Near, Ecuador. The lands near the equator. He didn't touch them. That's why they look like that still. That's why Florida looks like that. That's why California looks like that. But these are the children of Whaga, or the children of Mu. The children of Mu, they came to the Americas, but not all of them, because after the flood, almost all of them were led back to Eden, except for the son of Shem, who is She'iri. He would produce Abraham and the rest of the Shemites. And then you have Lud, of course. Now, this is what the Lemurians look like. So, if these people are from Whaga, right? These Lemurians were from Whaga, but Whaga was the place that they couldn't get to, that the evil ones, or the white giants couldn't get to. That was the land that they couldn't get to. Well, that means that there's only really one group of people there, right? They're not tainted or anything. This is how they originally looked. This is how the people of Lemuria looked originally. Mu is another name for Lemuria. The Lemurians were apparently a short, stocky, dark-skinned, matriarchal race. There is good evidence for the land of Lemuria, much better than the evidence of Atlantis. It is a place in the Pacific Ocean, covering from India across Australia, New Zealand, the Pacific Islands to Hawaii in the north, and Easter Island in the east. There are coral reefs in deep water of the coast and some of the Pacific Islands, suggesting that at one time the land was higher, or that the sea level was much lower. So there you go. Now, I don't say Kamari Kandam and Lemuria or Mu is the same thing. At least not, I don't say that anymore, or not now. If I did say that before, I think they're two different lands that sunk. And we're gonna go over the Wogue, and this E can be said as an A as well, so it's Woga. Blue Creek is a Yurok sacred site known as the tribe's stairway to heaven, which is the path to the tribe's high country, our sacred lands in which the Wogue, ancient spirits, live and with whom we commune during prayer and ceremony. It is also the site from where we collect the medicinal plants that we use for healing and prayer. So, I guess they view them as quote unquote gods, because a lot of those people, what happens to the righteous? They turn into angels, right? I'm guessing. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know why they're praying to these people for. Like, there's no reason to do that. We got another one. Umai, a restless and dreamy young woman, lived with her people, the Wogue, on the far edge of their world, a flat plate that floated upon the ocean within the world. The Wogue were the first people, those who formed the geography of the earth, the world within the world. Above this world rose a great bowl of blue. This was the sky. Beyond the lip of that bowl was another ocean, known as the ocean beyond the ocean. So the Wogue or the Whaga, these people were the descendants of quote unquote Adam and Eve. They said that they were the first, I believe, physical race, and then there's two other races, as it speaks on over here. I'll leave these links in the description. You guys check it out. Wog is the word in the Yurok language referring to a mythical race of intelligent pre-human beings. They were supplanted by the coming humans, but somehow remain in spirit. They are invoked in the Wog mythology and the Wog in Yurok mythology. Let's read some of this. Both these people exploits belong to a time period when the earth was inhabited by a race of beings called Wog. The Wog are small humanoid beings who reluctantly yielded the earth to mankind. There is an airy sense of nostalgic sadness and loss whenever the Wog are mentioned in Yurok mythology. Inevitably, the Wog withdrew into the mountains or across the sea, or turned into landmarks, birds, or animals to escape close contact with newly created men. No, they just went to Eden, bro. They didn't turn. I don't know about that. Like, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna deny it. I doubt it, but I don't know. Like, it's weird. Yet the Wog are still present in some sense, and they are depicted as being glad to be called upon in ritual formulas and the like. Erickson suggested that the childlike, innocent Wog are the projection of the pregenital state of childhood into prehistory. But whatever the original psychological reason for the existence of the Wog might have been, it could have been plausibly argued that one reason for their continued powerful emotional impact on the Yurok could be the whoa the cultural wait the acculturation, I don't know, situation. For just as the Wog were sorrowfully destined to withdraw to escape humans, so the Yurok themselves may have felt a like withdrawing to escape contact with Euro Americans and their culture. So he's saying that they were created as some sort of coping mechanism because the white man, they came on their lands and they wanted to leave where the Wog were, right? I'm guessing. Like, Kober himself notes, the Wog are always represented as loath to leave their old haunts, to which they were attached as much as the Yurok are to their homes. Kober failed, however, to see how closely some of his informants identified with the Wog. For example, in one of the narratives told by informant B, this person, we learned that the Wog of Sigonoi refused to go off into the hills. All the others went away, but these stayed on because they liked their town so much. So they remained the last ones, but were never ready to go. They were large men. And Krober's valuable sketch of informant B, he is described as being robust, thick-chested, and possessed of a massive frame. Since the Wog are originally perceived as small, childlike beings, the description of them as large men would appear to be idiosyncratic projection on this person's part. Moreover, Krober's careful account of this person living on a solitary house, which was one still inhabited in the settlement, certainly supports the notion suggested here that the Wog are in some sense the Yurok themselves, the original inhabitants of northwestern California, who have slowly but surely been disenfranchised by the white man. And again, we're mixed up with Aki's people, so of course we that would be very true. Let's see what else we got. Pinchot complicates, however, the construction of Vineland in his novel by incorporating another mythology into its symbolic layers, that of the Wog from the legends of the Native American tribe of the Yuroks. The Wog were humanoid creatures who had been living in the lands where the Yuroks later settled. The arrival of humans drove some of them into the mountains or across the sea, singing unison chants of disposition and exile. whereas others who found it impossible to leave withdrew into the features of the landscape, witnessing as the Yurok used their lands, but also calling attention to their ghostly presence and making humans aware of the existence of a realm behind the immediate. Having withdrawn into the landscape, the Wogue began their ethical project of watching what the humans did with their world. Okay, I don't need to read all that. Alright, what else we got, man? We pretty much already went over that, so I don't need to read that. Let me see. Along this river lived the Wogue, the first people before they took their present forms of animals and humans. To live here is to live in the world that the Wogue got ready for us. A world where what we call the real and the spiritual, or the secular and the sacred, are the same thing, a seamless, centered spirit, a wholeness. Now, I can't play this video because, my audio's, I don't know how to get it working, but in this video, he again, the Mormons telling themselves because they have no understanding, but these are the list of all of the white giants that the Native Americans speak on. And some of our brothers, they get caught up in thinking that these were us. And no, these were the giants. These were not us. Probably even Canaan. Most likely Canaan. These are not us. Right? And I went down the list. I typed in a few of them. The Asgan, let's see, were they fearful nocturnal creatures with poor eyesight that lived in caves underground and only came out at night? Remember the Morlocks, or pale-faced, red-headed cannibalistic giants, once known as the Alagui or Agzin, or Asgan, who fled the British Isles to practice dark arts in America. Or perhaps early refugees from South America who migrated north to escape brutal enemies in Peru, and are also reported to have had red hair and fair skins and blue-green eyes. They are also tales of tall, friendly extraterrestrials whose offspring became greatly revered leaders of the ancient seafarers whose telltale identification symbol is the concentric circle. Okay. Let's go over here. The Moon-Eyed people, let's go up here real quick. The Moon-Eyed people are a race from the Cherokee tradition who have said to have lived in the Appalachia until the Cherokee expelled them. See, it wasn't the Most High who expelled some of these people. It was the Indians who did it. Right? So I can only think of one time where the Israelites expelled a certain group of people in large numbers off of their land, and that was the conquest of Joshua. Moon-eyed people who were tall, fair-skinned, with light hair and gray eyes, and carried strange weapons and tools. Talagui. Who are the Talagui or Alagui Indians? Let me see. It must be noted that the names Idaho and Alagui are not applied by the Indians, and with the whites, two different parts of the same. I don't feel like reading this, bro. I'm getting kind of tired. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't feel like skimming through this stuff. If it's there, it's there. Let me see if there's anything here I wanted to read. Oh yeah, I wanted to read this because they had these same giants in Western Europe as well. It said that Canaan, he took all the lands of Shem. So anytime you're gonna find these giant bones like this, recently, you know, there are two forms of physical giantism which often get thoroughly confused. The first, which is the direct historical manifestation of the giant, is the most generally known and accepted. That is, an exceptionally tall being, possessed of great strength, a cunning brain, and possibly cannibalistic tendencies. An ogre. And that is what they are. They are ogres. I have another video to share with you guys tonight before I go to bed, by the way. I'm going to show you a real life ogre. I hope you guys enjoy it. As well as hostile feelings towards his brethren of lesser stature. And this is from Giants of the Earth PDF. I only have a little bit of the book. Let me see. This is the white giants of Palestine. These Kabbalists offer a striking appearance to the traveler who sees them for the first time. Their clear white skins covered with freckles, their blue eyes and light hair, their tall and shapely stature make him believe himself once more in some English or Irish village. We need not wonder that at one time they were regarded as descendants of the Vandal conquerors of the Roman provinces in Africa. The traveler in Palestine meets with the same indications of the presence of a white race as does the traveler in North Africa. The first time I visited the country, I was struck by the fact that the blue-eyed, fair-haired children are to be found alike in the plains and in the mountains, in the crowded cities, and in the most remote villages. It's not what I wanted to read. Let me see. Now Kadesh, though occupied by the Hittites, is described as being in the land of the Amur, or Amorites, since its chief, according to the artists of Rekmara, was not distinguished by the ethnical peculiarities of the Hittites. We must consider him to have sprung from the older Amorite population of the land. Apart from the color of their skin and hair, the features of these Amorites are well known to us from Egyptian representations. The Amorite was dolichocephalic, his nose was large and prominent, and his chin ended in a short pointed beard. Alright. Our voice is really starting to hurt. Let me wrap this up. Lemuria's blue messengers. So we're gonna find out what did the Lemurians look like. It's not a secret, bro, because these are the same people doing the same things. Early in the history of Mu, citizenship schools were set up in the tribal valleys. Some way of communicating between them and the Huhut plains was needed so they can keep up with fast-changing developments in the growing civilization. Since writing was unknown, messages had to be memorized, then spoken to the receiver. These messages were often long and complex, so the carrier had to be more intelligent than average to understand, remember, and repeat what he had been given. The trip from the capital city of Hamukulia to any village schools was dangerous. Okay, let's skip down, bro. When Lemuria was at the peak of its glory, ambassadors to other countries were always selected from the blue messenger families. Almost every director or even assistant director of the Department of Communication was distinguished by his blue skin. Every emperor depended on Lemuria's blue messengers as ambassadors with the qualities of character and temperament needed to fill these positions. Thousands of years of training qualified them for these positions of great trust, where sound judgment and unshakable integrity were so essential. Distant people came and regarded these respected dignitaries as the motherland, as representing what they believe was a blue race. Now, why did I read this? First of all, this whole story is probably BS, but that's not the point. The point is that they're trying to explain why they have all these blue gods, uh, quote unquote blue gods in ancient India, right? Let's look up blue gods India. I think they just showed the trident. Yeah, this is the trident, Lemuria, right? This is why this place got sunk. By the way, I don't think you have to ask why they got sunk. The Lemurian beings were the original indigenous brown to dark skin colored people who walked and lived upon the face of the earth for eons of time as Earth's keepers of our Earth Mother. They are more than shamans and healers. The original first settlers to Lemuria were very advanced, devoted, core galactic star beings. They vibrate in a very high frequency. They come with a divine purpose to have children of Mu spread its wings into this entire planet as a conduit. The children of Mu are peace loving and emotionally intelligent spiritual beings. Lemurians were sent out on a cosmic mission through a divine great plan to occupy this amazing blue planet. These great beings were in alignment with Earth Mother, for they know that Earth Mother is a living, breathing being, so she is to be occupied with love, honor, and respect. Why do you think I give so much reverence to the Pachamama? Together, they know their past, present, and future as one team timeline. They are the planetary caregivers who dedicated themselves to become the Earth's perfect vibrational match, as the Sacred Heart space holds within humanity. They are the peaceful but brave heart warriors of the cosmos with sacred mission totally dialed into Mu and Earth Mother. The indigenous of the Philippines to Hawaii to North, Central, South America, such as Canada, Mexico, Guatemala, Peru, the rainforests of the Amazon and Brazil, all the way to Europe, such as the Laps, but not limited to these places. The native indigenous brown to dark people lived and flourished, carrying their inherited energetic vibrations and signatures, but not load, for they become the target of brutality, harassment, and thievery. They were called the indigenous Indios, native Indians, and other names corresponding to all Earth natives. The conquerors brutally wished and intended that they forget their root race, where they come from. So they destroyed their past identity and artifacts through constant strategic wars, and conquering of their native lands and its natives. The history and the story goes for systematic takeovers and total destruction of Earth Keepers with the Mother Earth altogether to create confusion, chaos, shock, and traumas, making it easy to control their prey. This is some crazy stuff, man. Listen to this. This is not going to be the case. Time has come for the spiritual rise of Lemuria, carrying with her the Lemurian code healing to awaken the sleeping giants of Mu and her people. Lemurians are everywhere, for they are the original sacred land keepers of our Earth Mother, our Pachamama. And the reason why I read that blue gods thing is because of this. Because the blue people were always known as the dark people. He subdued the nimble blackamoors, not wrongly named the painted people. The painted people. A complementary witness of Maurus is Gorm, found attached to the names of Highland and other chiefs and kings. So Mars, or Mars comes from Moor, and this writer is saying it's synonymous with Gorm. This word is given to the Gaelic dictionaries as signifying blue of whatever shade, also green and as grass. And this recalls the fact that the indigenous tribe described by Caesar were styled both Verdes, green, and Kareli, blue, from the woad with which they stained their bodies. What did we just read about the Lemurians? They stained their bodies with blue, and they were black. What did Oahspe say? It said, I didn't read it to you today, but it said that the Ahins were short, white, and yellow people, and the Druks were tall, black people, black and brown people. When it's swapped, the Ahins were short, brown, and black people. The Druks were tall, white, and yellow people. That's how it really is. Same thing with the Wagas. The Wagas, Thompson, she said the Wagas were the white people, and the Giants were the black people. And it was flipped. It's flipped. Everything's flipped. They're trying to hide our identity. But it's not going to work. We're too smart for that, man. My voice is going to be, oh, man. I don't know how I'm going to do in the next one, but my voice is done. Accordingly, when one looks again into the Gaelic dictionary, one finds that Gorman is woad. Plainly, therefore, a man who is titled Gorm is a woad-stained man. What was that? What was that? That little girl. I was saying little girl. I'm only 3 years older than her, but she has the mentality of a little damn girl. Amanda Gorman, where she wrote that filth for the White House. Gorman. Where do you think that word? Where do you think that name comes from? Gorman means black man. Gorm is a woad-stained man. Now, although the Gaelic of Scotland, a Negro is known as this. I'm not gonna say it, bro. A black man. He is known in the Gaelic of Ireland as this or Gorm, a blue or green or woad-stained man. And while in the Scottish Highlands, the adjective gloss is used to signify both swarthy and green. In Wales, it has the meaning of green or blue, and in the latter country, the Gaelic gorm, here spelled gorm, is equivalent to brown. So anytime it's talking about green or blue, it's really talking about black or brown. What possible explanation for all this apparent confusion of terms can there be except the patent one that a brown-skinned man and a woad-colored man were one and the same? See? So I'm finished with this video, man. Hope you guys got something out of it, but I can't take no much more. I hope that I was intelligible, and I hope that you keep searching for the truth. Come back to your roots. We are the ancient Lemurians. So that's about it. May peace be with you. Selah Kala.